Folkston area. Now, doing a highlight and make sure that, there we go. So we have 2 tornado warnings. So the tornado warning, we're going to call the Southern Tornado Warning, and that's for portions now, portions of Baker, Charlton, and Ware counties. That goes until 2:15. So this is the tornado warning that we're highlighting right now that is just northwest of Duval County, just west of Nassau and Clay. And then there's the northern tornado, we'll call it, here it is. Again, pull out just a little bit, Lee, because I want to show Waycross and Patterson. Yeah, so here's Patterson and Pierce County, and then Waycross is farther off to the south. So you folks in Waycross, Ware County, don't worry. I know it's storming over eastern Ware County, but the tornado threat is now moving away from you. So there's some good news. From Pierce County, this is heading to the northeast. So although the squall is moving through all of Pierce County, and in all of Pierce County, if there's 1 hour in which it's going to be safest this afternoon to not be on the road, this is it. So this is your hour in Pierce County. If you can keep you and your loved ones off the road, that would be best. Certainly, we want you to be safe in your buildings. We want you to keep your family away from windows. But the most dangerous place to be under this type of scenario throughout all of northeast Florida, southeastern Georgia, will be in moving vehicles. So we're going to zoom in a little bit. Lee's checking it out. So north of Patterson, we're watching for you folks in Jessup. The tornado warning for northern Pierce County until 2:15. There's not a dramatic signature. Now that's good news. But another point that you'll be hearing us make through the afternoon is because this squall line is, even without the tornadoes, producing winds of over 60, that's severe, that's enough to cause wind damage, and occasionally up to 75, that's hurricane force. Even if there's not a tornado within the squall line, that will be strong enough to bring down some wind damage. So what Lee is checking out here, there's a lot of different ingredients on the Doppler, and Lee's checking out the velocity and maybe some signatures, possible signature here in Clinch County, possible signature here of rotation and a tornado. So to put it in perspective, there's Folkston. The tornado warning includes Baker County, but our strongest signature of circulation, or at least a strong wind shift, is going to be in far northern Baker County. So we're talking about well to the north of McClenny, and then in the swamp. This is primarily in the Okefenokee swamp, but this is racing to the northeast at 60 miles per hour. So for those of you in Folkston, and although technically in Hilliard, you're not under a tornado warning, keep a close watch. So Lee's going to check this out. So again, these are moving to the northeast at 40, 50, maybe 60 miles per hour. So this portion of the storm will easily be moving through Folkston and surrounding areas within about the next 15 to 30 minutes, because these cells are racing along. Lee, if we could, yeah, so Lee's showing the possible signature here of rotation and at least a strong gust front, and then the timing as this races off to the northeast, possibly producing some winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Look at this, easily could be in the Folkston area by about 2 o'clock or so. And Lee, if we could occasionally pull out and just show the whole squall, because folks, even if once we get to 6 or 7 o'clock, and you say, well, there wasn't a tornado warning where we were. Hopefully that's the case. But that doesn't mean there won't be wind damage. This whole solid line, that's what we call the squall line, in addition to the always dangerous lightning, there are within this whole area winds gusting to 60 miles per hour. And I'm going to continue to say that because I don't want you to think, well, I'm not under a tornado warning, so myself or a friend or a loved one's going to get on the road right now. Within this whole system, it's going to be about at least a 1 to 2 hour period of dangerous winds, easily gusting to 60, maybe 75 miles per hour. So notice there are numerous tornado warnings farther off to the northeast, but the 2 tornado warnings we're watching right on the Florida-Georgia border, and notice it does include far northwestern Nassau County. So for all practical purposes, really, we're going to include you folks in the Hilliard area. So think Hilliard up to Folkston and then on back to northern Baker County. This particular cell is going to pass to the north of McClenny, but notice the squall line extends all the way through all of our counties. So the leading edge of the squall line, or I should say the leading edge of the rains, the steady rains, and the gust of 40 miles per hour are now into Glenn, Camden, Nassau, far western Duval County, and Lee's going to continue to work down to the south, I think along Highway 301, and there into now far western Clay County, and soon moving out of Alachua County into Putnam County. So the only counties now that are not included within at least the leading edge of this squall line that we've been talking about are St. John's and Flagler, and it's just going to be a little bit longer before the leading edge makes it to our area. Now, there are times, especially during the hotter times of the year, where that initial rain and gust are where the strongest winds are. However, because of the shifting nature of the winds and some other things that we say, the dynamics of meteorology, the threat of the strongest winds and or tornadoes with the squall line, they're not with the leading edge. They're on the back side. What's happening is as the south and southeast winds become southwest and blow out of the west, that's where the strongest winds are, and that's where the potential of tornadoes are as well. So this is also a bit of an unusual event for us in our part of the world, in that the strongest wind gusts are not initially as the rain comes in. It's actually within the rain and then farther off to the west. It's another reason why some of these tornadoes are actually going to be tough to ever see. They're going to be what we call rain-wrapped tornadoes. Again, Lee's checking out the different tornadoes specifically for our area. One tornado warning includes, and there's a lot of color here, northern Baker, Nassau, Charlton County. We're talking about western Nassau. So there's this tornado warning. You know, Lee, maybe just for a second, if we could take the velocity out and just show the tornado warnings and then the severe thunderstorm warning. And I think, folks, we can show you the nature of the areas of potential rotation. There we go. So if you could pull out just a little bit, Lee, just to show the big picture. Lee is with a lot going on trying to respond to my brain, which I know can be tough. So the yellow shading, and if we can pull out even a little bit more, Lee, to go up, take our counties all the way south. So the yellow shading indicates where the squall line is and indicates where severe thunderstorm warnings are. In other words, all the way from the Gulf through every one of our western counties now, severe thunderstorm warnings means as that squall comes through you, there are winds of 60 miles per hour, and there are some tree limbs coming down. There is some debris out there. And then within that all those severe thunderstorm warnings, we have the tornado warnings, the two that include our area. This cell here near the Florida-Georgia border, that includes northern Baker, Charlton, and far northwestern Nassau County, and then this here in far northern Pierce. All of these other counties, of course, we care about the folks there, but that's more for activity heading towards Savannah. Now, what Lee has painted is just the squall line, and I love it, Lee. I want to go to this many times over the next couple of hours, because this squall line shows you that although, yeah, we're going to hyper-focus on those tornado warnings, everybody within this area, as the squall line heads to the east pretty rapidly now at 40 to 50 miles per hour, anywhere there will be some tree limbs coming down. There will be some debris flying around at a rate to where it's going to be dangerous, which is why we're saying that really, I would say for everybody from Clay to Duval, Nassau, Camden, and Glenn County westward, if there were 1 or 2 hours in which you were not going to be on the road because of the storm, it's right now. Or it's going to be imminently to where hopefully you won't have to get on the road. For those of you in St. John's and let's say southeastern Putnam County on down to Flagler, if you or a loved one has to get on the road, you have an hour or two. But again, this is racing towards your region. So I would say really, even for those of you now in northwestern St. Johns County, let's say from Ponte Vedra on down to the World Golf Village, on down to about Switzerland, if you're from that point westward, I would say try to stay off the road now. It's probably going to be about a 2 to 3 hour period, and then the worst of this will be out of here in no time. Lee, thank you very much. Lee, if you want to go hyper-focused on some of the tornado warnings, absolutely fine. Multiple tornado warnings now. So we have two particular animals, if you will, that we're watching. So within this squall line, there is a tornado warning because there are radar-indicated tornado, and includes northern Baker. This is actually portions of Clinch County and then Charlton County. The main areas we're watching, really, because so much of this is the Okefenokee, are for those of you up toward Folkston, and then later on, probably in the Hilliard region. And then farther off to the north, and we're talking about the northernmost portion of the First Coast, is the tornado warning that continues for Pierce County, I think that I do know the tornado warning is north of you folks in Patterson. And then the rest of this activity heading up toward Jessup. And then think really this complex is where they're concerned in Savannah, because that will be racing northward, northeastward. I just wanted to, and I'll get out of the way for just a second. So just wanted to see verification, folks. So everybody looking at these radars are indicating the potential for a tornado. But at the very least, even if that rotation isn't causing imminent problems, this whole squall is producing some winds of 60 to occasionally 75 miles per hour. So we're going to continue to go, as we call it, wall to wall. It means we're going to continue to show this as long as the tornado warnings remain in effect for Pierce County and then for those of you farther off to the southeast. So Lee is checking out again with the Doppler, and if there's some rotation, it's in this area right here. And these corners, this is actually, to be technical, this is Clinch County getting back into Charlton County. But notice a little bit closer as we get on up to the Folkston area and Davis Field. The good news in this region is that until we get to about Highway 1 in the Folkston area, pretty low density as far as, so there's Folkston. Here we go farther north into Pierce County. And so this is the northernmost. As far as the wind shift is right about here. You see this change in color here? So this is the strong wind shift. Now east of Bristol, heading toward Screven, and then extends farther down to the south. I'm curious, Lee, if we can show Patterson. So if you can slide a little farther to the south. So we see Blackshear, Patterson also in this area. So notice, at the very least, this is staying northeast of Highway 84. For those of you familiar with Highway 84, pretty heavily traveled between Waycross and Blackshear and off to the northeast, staying northeast of Highway 84 until you're getting up toward, heading up toward the Savannah area. This is well northwest of Brunswick. And it's good, if you're having a hard time seeing anything here that indicates circulation, that's good news. That means probably that if there is a tornado there, it's not producing winds any stronger than 75 miles per hour. Now, of course, that's strong. That's strong enough for damage. But that's why sometimes we can almost become a little too hyper-focused on just where the tornadoes are instead of the overall system that is causing some problems. So how about some good news? We were live in Lake City about an hour ago as the leading edge was hitting Lake City. In Lake City, the backside of this squall has just about moved through. So it shows the speed of this squall, that the squall that is producing some wind damage in some areas has moved through the Lake City area in about an hour and 15 minutes. And for those of you, okay, we're going to go to Lake City right now. And here we are, and I believe that might be Nick out there at Lake City. Now, one of the nice things about where Nick is right now, and we're glad he's in a safe place, is notice not too many trees. I would say if you're wondering where are the most dangerous places to be right now, it will be on high bridges. To give an example of what I mean is the Main Street Bridge, not a high bridge. The Fuller Warren Bridge, not a high bridge. The Danes Point Bridge, the Matthews, the Hart, the bridge going into Brunswick. Those are what I mean by the high bridges. That would be the most dangerous place to be. Second, any place where there's a thick tree canopy. So the nice thing about where Nick is in Lake City is that not too many trees there. And as long as winds stay below 75 miles per hour, that's going to be a relatively safe place. Now, for those of you in Lake City in the neighborhoods where there's trees, I know you can't do much about that because that's where you live. But for instance, whether it's Lake City or Lakeshore Drive in Duval or down to Old St. Augustine or up to beautiful Brunswick or the Golden Isles, any place where the neighborhoods have been around and we have a thick tree canopy, that's where we're concerned about tree limbs coming down. So at the very least, if you're wondering where are the most dangerous places to drive, it's not necessarily going to be in the urban cores, for instance, where Nick is. It's going to be where the tree canopies are. It's going to be on the higher bridges. So we're thankful that Nick is not in a dangerous place. And I guess that's another way for me to say that if you're going to be driving and you're trying to decide where is it safe, where is it not safe, if there's a lot of trees around you, not going to be safe as this squall line comes through. If you have to drive over a high bridge, not going to be safe for the next couple of hours. If you don't have to drive over a high bridge, if you're not going to be driving through an area where there's trees and you have to drive, maybe not as safe. It's about as positive as I can be. All right, so the tornado warning continues for this cell over northern Baker, Charlton County, Clinch County, and we continue to mention far northwestern Nassau County because this squall line is getting into Nassau County, and there's the potential that that rotation that appears to be evident fairly could also get into Nassau County as well. And that tornado warning goes until, I believe that's 2:15 also, Lee, is that correct? Right, so both of these tornado warnings, the tornado warning that we're highlighting here for Pierce County goes till 2:15, but the tornado warning that also includes, and this is the area just northwest of Duval, for those of you new to the area, for Baker, Charlton, Ware counties, that goes until 2:15 as well. As far as where the potential wind damage, just by looking at all these colors, it would be right about in here. See where you see the sharp demarcation of color? That would indicate, even if there's not rotation, that would indicate a shift in the wind. And Lee's painting that as well. And notice that's getting pretty close to Folkston and anybody else that's along Highway 1 and Highway 301 out there. So we're talking really with, I mean, really, it's imminent as far as this wind shift into the Folkston area, Trader Hill, and then moving from Charlton County on into Nassau County. It's going to be this wind shift that if there's going to be wind damage, if there's going to be some tree limbs come down, if there's going to be trees come down, it's going to be with that leading edge. I'm wondering, Lee, if we can use that same velocity and as best as you can, take it from there and then right on down and see if we can almost paint that shift. So at least we can see it. It gets tougher from the radar site. But so from right about here, folks, into northern Baker County, that's a pretty strong wind shift, where more than likely winds are gusting to at least 60 miles per hour, maybe stronger. Now, as we go farther off to the southwest, a little tougher to tell, but still at least painting that. And so let's look at the timing here. And so there you see it. So if this wind shift maintains itself, getting into Kingsland before 2:30, this would be into the core. We're talking about near the airport on south between about 2:30 and 3 o'clock. So we're talking now within the next hour, folks, maybe all the way, possibly all the way to the coast before 3 p.m. So this is on the move. Now, that's concerning in that it's moving so fast, although it really just supports something moving, something that's producing winds gusting to 60, maybe 75 miles per hour is going to move quickly. So yeah, that's concerning. On the other hand, it means if you just have to get something done by later this evening, but if you just hang out and you or your loved ones don't get on the roadway for the next 1 to 2 hours, the worst could actually be over, at least for places from Duval and Nassau County, could be over as early as 4 p.m. Okay, the tornado warning now has been, we really try to keep these as small as possible. So notice now the tornado warning no longer includes Baker, no longer includes Charlton. Because the signature is so tough to tell, the size of the tornado warning has really been shaved down now. So we're really hyper-focused on if there's rotation now and wind damage, the tornado warning is for those of you just off to the southwest of Folkston. So at the very least, hopefully, even if my vocabulary doesn't make sense, but the picture does, if you're in Folkston, if you can wait about 20 minutes and you need to go southwest, then you're going to be okay. But within the next 15 to 20 minutes, you do not want to go southwest. In fact, right about here, this is sort of kink. This is probably, if there's rotation, it's right about there. And within this area too, especially from just west of Folkston, this line of, notice the sharp demarcation of color there. At home, that might be, I don't know, deeper orange to green. That sharp demarcation, at the very least, that shows where the wind shift is, and we're probably getting some winds gusting easily to 60 and maybe up to 75 miles per hour. We've been analyzing some of these earlier in the afternoon, and we saw some wind gusts as high as 80 to 85 miles per hour. So occasionally you'll see severe thunderstorm warnings popped up. That's because all of us, if you're not all of us, I think I can say this pretty confidently, even if you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning yet, as this storm system comes through, you will be put under a severe thunderstorm warning because all of these storms are producing some wind damage. It's just within these storms, within the severe thunderstorm warning, there occasionally are indications that there might be a tornado. And I think if there's any rotation, it's going to be in this area here. So just southwest of Folkston. So you folks in Folkston, again, maybe I should go beyond just traveling. Now is the time for the next 20 minutes to make sure loved ones are away from windows. As a 5-year-old, this is when I would have my face pressed up against the window. You don't want the little Timmies out there doing that, or the little Teresas. Keep folks away from the windows because this type of tornado, as best we can tell, if it's even there as far as rotation, or let's say just winds of 60 to 75 miles per hour, that's not strong enough to pick up a building, to pick up a mobile home, but it is enough to bring a tree on a roof. It is enough to send debris through windows, and so that's why we mentioned flying debris and limbs. So the tornado warning until 2:15. Again, if you're wondering, got 2:08 right there. And so think, folks, now Hilliard down to the southwest. We'll watch this because this gust front now is about ready to make it into Nassau County. We'll see what officially is determined. My suspicion will be that as this crosses, and we're really talking the gateway of the Okefenokee here, as this crosses out of the Okefenokee into the Nassau County, my suspicion is it'll be a severe thunderstorm warning. But remember, that still means wind damage. In fact, we're still getting reports, but of the injuries that I've heard so far in Florida, that was out around the Florida Panhandle, and it was from a tree blown on a roof in which 2 were injured. And as best we can determine, that was not a tornado. That was simply straight line winds. So I don't want to diminish the significance of a tornado warning, but I want to make sure we understand the significance, especially with this type of squall line of winds gusting to 75 miles per hour. As we continue to check this out, a little bit of meteorology. What we are very confident of is that at about 2,000 to 5,000 feet, there's a solid area of winds of 60 to 80 miles per hour out of the southwest. Solid data supports that. The iffy part of the forecast is how much of that wind, where there's 60 to 80 miles per hour, and 2,000 to 5,000 feet is not actually that high. To put it in perspective, for those planes that go across the country or even up the East Coast, they'll get up to about 30,000 feet. When you're at 2,000 to 5,000 feet, that's not that high above where us humans are. So we know that wind is there. The question is how much of that will actually get down on the surface. And of course, if we get winds of 60, 80 miles per hour, that is what has caused the damage and will continue to cause the damage. Now, hopefully I don't have to tell you, lightning is always dangerous. We've already seen lightning cause some damage over the Florida Panhandle, portions of Alabama and western Georgia as well. And there's plenty of lightning with this system as well. The tornado warning continues for just a little sliver of Pierce County. I want to let you folks in Pierce County know that we haven't forgotten about you. So just barely, really. So clearly to the north of Patterson. In fact, notice that, I think really, folks, you in Pierce County, you're in good shape. If there's any new rotation developing, it's going to occur on the southwestern side of all of these storms. And notice now, that's out of Pierce County. And that's now east of Pierce County. So this is all headed northeast towards Savannah. There's the wind gust. Here's Highway 301. But we're talking about counties that are north of the First Coast. If we can slide just a little farther southly to show folks where Glenn County is. So here's Waycross. Here's Brunswick. Here's Glenn County. See that strong gust front there? That's up toward Jessup. We care about you folks in Jessup. But just for those of you that walk specifically for the First Coast. So this particular area of concern, that's going to head to the northeast, and that's going to stay to the north of Glenn County. The severe thunderstorm is coming into Glenn County. The severe thunderstorm is coming into Camden County. But as far as that particular hyper concern for the tornado warning, that's going to stay north of you folks in the Brunswick area. And again, I know there's a lot of wild colors showing up here. But generally speaking, there's an indication of the strong gust front just working right about down like this. The Doppler radar is an interesting and great feature that we have because it picks up not just rain, but what wind direction is doing. But because the Doppler radar looks out 360 degrees, it doesn't mean the same thing here as it does off to the northeast or to the southeast or to the southwest. But it still, under this situation, helps us out. Okay, so we've just expanded the tornado warning.
No, Charlton County's canceled.
Okay, so Lee, let's listen to Lee has. Lee has some information for us.
I just wanted to let you know that they have officially expired the Charlton County tornado warning.
Okay.
So let's take a look at just the big picture here.
Okay, so we're just to be clear, Lee. I'm sorry. So just to be clear, folks, you see this here. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. That's what I wanted to make sure. So these are the severe thunderstorm warnings until 2:45. The tornado warning. The tornado warnings, as far as we know, so the tornado warnings for our area have been dropped. But every one of us either are now or will within the next hour be under severe thunderstorm warnings. So we're going to go back to regular programming, but we're going to continue to watch this closely because at any moment there could be some tornado warnings issued. But just want to let you know that the squall line that we've been certainly headlining for the last day, and I know the weather team was talking about it through the weekend, and really we were talking about the storm last week. If you're wondering what the squall line looks like, it is here. So it's now into all the way to the coastal counties now. Glenn, Camden, Nassau, western Duval, western Clay, going to get down, there you go, into western Putnam County, and throughout it's just a solid area of severe thunderstorms. So it just supports what we've been talking about, that this squall line, and as it comes through your area and moves from west to east, it will be producing winds strong enough to at least bring down some limbs and bring down some, or blow debris and cause it to be dangerous to humans, to pets, to livestock, possibly getting in toward windows, and then heading all the way to the beaches. And although technically St. Johns and Flagler, you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning yet, St. Johns County, you will be under a severe thunderstorm warning within about 30 minutes. Flagler County, you will be under a severe thunderstorm warning within about an hour. So really where the majority of us live, if it's not apparent to you the storm hasn't hit, it is now imminent. And so if there is literally just a 1 or 2 hour period in which you can afford, you and your family, to just sit still, to not be out there on the roadways, certainly to not be going over the taller bridges, try to stay away from portions of the house where maybe a tree limb could come down. This is the time to do it. So we're going to pull away and show you some regular programming as tornado warnings, if new tornado warnings are issued. And for that matter, if we start seeing imminent wind damage with these severe thunderstorm warnings, we will be immediately back on to let you know what's going on. And of course, most of us have these here too, and we'll be putting those updates out just about every minute. We're going to keep you updated.
This has been a severe weather update from the First Coast News weather team. Download the First Coast News app for live weather updates anytime.